3 hours. That's how long it took for a woman to go from screaming, "Y'all delusional rumturds," into her phone, to giggling about Flatiron serum and a $300 frontal she just rescued. Same live, same camera, same eyeliner. One mood swing the algorithm could have timed with a stopwatch. And somewhere in the middle of all that, a 2-year-old, a probation violation, and a Patreon link nobody mentioned out loud. But here's what makes this one different from every other circuit on this app. And stay with me, because this is the part the comment section is going to fight about. 3 hours of that live is not a meltdown. It's an episode, pre-produced in real time. With ad breaks, the host doesn't tell you are ad breaks. And by the time you finish this video, you're going to see the seams. You're going to see where the cuts would go if this thing had a budget for cuts. You're going to see why every single beat, the rage, the giggle, the pivot to the bundles, back to the rage, lands exactly where it lands. This is not a family falling apart. This is a family in production. Before I unpack this whole circus, and I mean whole circus, the tents, the clowns, the lion that's secretly a tabby, do me one. Tap that subscribe, smash the bell, drop a like if you've been watching this family for longer than your last relationship lasted. Because what's coming next? You're not getting this read anywhere else on this app. Promise. Real talk, we crossed a threshold with this story months ago. Most channels are still litigating the surface. Who screamed louder? Who's the better parent? Whose Cash App tag was in the bio that week? We're past that. We're going to look at the machine underneath. And once you see the machine, you can't unsee it. Fair warning. Quick anchor for anybody who walked in halfway through the season. Jonathan Porter, known as Blueface, got released from prison early November 2025 after serving roughly 21 months on a probation violation, per TMZ, and confirmed across Hot 97 and Power 105.1's coverage on November 3rd, 2025. Within hours of touchdown, the co-parenting theater with Chrisean Rock, mother of Chrisean Jr., born August 2023, was already cranking back up. Then last week, Chrisean reportedly dropped Jr. off at the Porter family home for a one-on-one visit with his dad. By the next afternoon, she was live, allegedly accusing Blue of doing drugs in jail, leaving the baby unattended and refusing to do content with her. Cue the matriarch. Karlissa Saffold, Blue's mother, self-described Black Kris Jenner, CEO of Sixit Network, opened her phone, opened her live, and opened a vein. Now, before we go further, let me add the new layer that didn't exist last time we talked about this, because the situation has metastasized. As of March 7th, 2026, per TMZ, Blueface publicly stated, and I'm pulling the direct quote from his own social, "Junior is not my biological son. R.I.P. to his father, Ronnie." That's not a private text. That's not a live spiral. That's a man typing a sentence, pinning it, and letting it sit. He did pull the post down later that same week after Junior reportedly called him daddy on camera. But the words were out. The screenshots were taken. The Reddit threads were already 6 pages deep. So when you watch Karlissa now, in a live we're about to dissect, you have to understand, she's not defending a co-parenting relationship anymore. She's defending a brand asset her son just publicly disclaimed. That changes the math on every word she says next. Okay, now let's actually look at what happened. Let's start with the words. Just the words. No spin yet. From Karlissa's live this week, and her phrasing has been quoted across multiple outlets including Hot 97 and aggregator clips on Hot New Hip Hop. She said, and I quote, "All he said was he ain't got nothing to do with that, because publicly don't nobody want to deal with that fan base." Flat. No reaction. Moving on. Same live. Later. Why would a woman leave her child with somebody that she's going to get on the internet and say does drugs? What type of sense do that make? Now that's a fair question. Genuinely. I had to sit with it. Because if you strip the live of every performance layer, the volume, the eye roll, the camera angle she keeps adjusting, the question itself has structural integrity. It's the kind of question a divorce attorney would ask in deposition. "Ma'am, you allege that the father uses controlled substances. You also voluntarily delivered the minor child to that father's residence. Walk me through the reasoning." There is no good answer. The only answers are, you didn't actually believe the drug claim when you dropped him off. B, you believed it but did it anyway. or C. The drug claim was generated after the drop-off, retroactively, to fit a new narrative need. None of those land well in family court. None of those land well in public either. Then this one, attributed to Karlissa per coverage on Tribune and circulating on Snapchat clip pages. You would destroy a man for your pride. Heavy, whether you agree with her read or not. That line is built for a thumbnail. And I want to point something out because nobody else has. That sentence is structurally identical to lines Karlissa has been delivering since the original Zeus show era. Subject, modal verb. Object, motivation. It's her signature cadence. She writes hooks the way a country songwriter writes hooks. Whether she knows she's doing it is a separate question, but the muscle memory is industrial. Then from Chrisean Rock herself, allegedly via her own live earlier the same week, reposted across IG aggregators, including the Shade Room, W to my baby daddy. Chrisean Jr. needed the alone time. Reportedly. Allegedly. You know the drill. And then from XXL, going back a minute, but worth resurfacing, Blueface himself on record, warning Chrisean he'd file for custody if she didn't focus on raising him correctly. 5 quotes. 5 different rooms in the same house. Wild. Now layer the TMZ paternity quote on top. Junior is not my biological son. 6 quotes. And the 6th one detonates the other 5. Because if Blue is publicly disclaiming biological fatherhood, then custody doesn't mean what it meant when XXL ran that piece. The custody threat was leverage. It only works as leverage if both parties agree he is standing. The moment he says publicly he doesn't have standing, he's also surrendering the leverage. So either he's bluffing, she's bluffing, or both of them are bluffing about different things at different times for different paychecks. Which, frankly, has been the working hypothesis since season 1. Now stack them, because the order matters more than the content. Tuesday, that W to my baby daddy energy, Chrisean publicly praises the drop-off. Junior's with his dad. Father-son time. The fanbase exhales. Co-parenting Twitter is almost allowed to be happy for 30 seconds. Wednesday, Blue allegedly steps out of the house for what Chrisean's camp later frames as an unexplained errand. Could have been the corner store. Could have been Jaden Alexis's place. And remember, Jaden's also a mother of his children, per iHeart's coverage of the 2024 probation timeline. Could have been a dentist. We don't know. Wednesday afternoon, the tone flips. That earlier praise? Gone. Now, there's a story about Junior left unattended on the floor. About a block number texting her. About Blue maybe doing drugs in jail. Wait, back up. Back up. If Blue just watched Junior the day before, and you just publicly thanked him for it, and then 18 hours later he's a drug-addicted absentee who left your baby on the carpet, both of those can't be true. One of them has to bend. And the math on which one is bending is... Actually, hold on. Let me get to that in a second. Thursday, Karlissa goes live. The Rumtard speech. 3 hours of it. The same live where, midway through, she casually mentions her 6-bundle hair drop next week and a YouTube makeup lady she's been studying. Same live. That's not a contradiction. That's a format. But there's a deeper timeline I want to lay over this one because it changes the read. Look at the macro calendar. November 3rd, 2025, Blueface released. Comeback narrative starts. February 23rd, 2026, Blueface and girlfriend Nevaeh Akira announced pregnancy with his 4th child per Power 105.1/iHeart. Due late August 2026. March 7th, 2026, Blueface publicly denies paternity of Chrisean Jr. on socials, TMZ. March 9th, 2026, Chrisean responds publicly, per iHeart. March 30th, 2026, CPS removal rumor about Junior begins circulating across IG aggregators. This week, Karlissa Live, the one we're dissecting. You see it? Of course you see it. Every single emotional escalation maps to a content calendar event. The paternity denial drops 2 weeks after the pregnancy announcement. The CPS rumor drops 3 weeks after the paternity denial. The Karlissa Live drops in the trough between news cycles when impressions would otherwise dip. This is not chaos. This is release scheduling. If you handed a music label the same calendar, they'd call it a rollout. And here's the thing nobody wants to say out loud. Nevaeh's pregnancy changes the entire incentive map. Because the moment Blue has a confirmed fourth child by another woman, with a documented timeline and a baby shower stream already promoted on Karlissa's own feed, the family no longer needs Chrisean Jr. as a centerpiece. There's a new baby coming, a new content vertical, a new audience to court. Jr. becomes, and I hate this framing, but it's accurate, legacy inventory. The kind of business has to decide whether to maintain or sunset. That's not me being cruel. That's me describing the spreadsheet that exists whether anyone admits it or not. Two lenses for this one. Behavioral, then financial. Because that's where the real story lives. Listen to the cadence of Karlissa's live. She defends Blue for a 45-minute stretch. Then, without a transition, pivots to flat ironing her hair. Then, without a transition, pivots to shout out to my kids who ran the store at 16. Then back to Chrisean. Then back to plugging hot bundles. The emotional whiplash isn't accidental. It's the job. A pure rage stream loses viewers after 8 minutes. A stream that braids rage with merch and personal flex retains for hours. She's doing what every veteran live streamer does. Modulating the rage so the chat never empties. Okay, that's not me being savage. That's just product design. The deeper read. And this is the part where I want you to actually pause the video and think, Karlissa is not modulating rage because she's a performer. She's modulating rage because she's been a single black mother in Los Angeles managing 4 kids' chaos for roughly 3 decades. The retention skill predates the platform. The live didn't teach her to braid emotional registers. The platform just gave her a microphone for a survival mechanism she developed before TikTok existed, which makes it both more authentic and more monetizable than the average creator's content. And that's the paradox nobody on either side wants to acknowledge. The grief is real. The grief is also the inventory. Both at once. All the time. Karlissa's Patreon page, The Real LA Family Blues on the Sixit Network, literally describes the show as documenting the family's toxic issues displayed on social media. That's not me characterizing it. That's the About page. Quote, the show exists because Blueface became estranged to his family after those issues went public. Read that again. The estrangement is the premise of the monetizable product, which means every time the family reconciles, the show's central tension loses a leg. And every time it falls apart, the show gets a season finale. I'm not saying she's manufacturing the drama. I'm saying the drama is load-bearing infrastructure. Let me put numbers to this so the abstraction lands. Patreon's standard tiered subscription model and Sixit's Patreon sitemap publicly lists episode drops, including Blues on Bad vs. Wild, Girls' Day, The Blues Come Out at Night, and Family Meeting episodes. Typically generates revenue across 3 tiers, somewhere between $5 and $25 per subscriber per month. We don't have public subscriber numbers, but the math is intuitive. Every 1,000 paid subscribers at an average $10 tier is $10,000 a month in gross before Patreon's cut. That's recurring revenue. That's the kind of number a household builds a mortgage around. And it doesn't require Karlissa to leave her living room. Compare that to a Zeus appearance, a podcast sit-down, an Instagram brand deal, all one-time payouts, all subject to availability, all contingent on someone else booking you. The Patreon is the only stream she controls end to end. So when you ask, why does she go this hard on Live? You're really asking, why does a small business owner protect her highest margin product line? The answer is, she'd be a bad operator if she didn't. Per the LA Times, Chrisean herself caught 30 days plus 12 months probation for the November 2023 assault on dancer James Wright. So when Karlissa keeps hammering that line about putting your baby daddy in jail, that's not just family theater. It's a woman whose son just did 21 months watching another woman with her own probation history threaten his freedom on live. The temperature on that is real, even if the delivery is a circus. And add the new wrinkle on top. If the CPS rumors from March 30th, 2026 are accurate, and Jr. was temporarily removed from Chrisean's care, then Karlissa's anger has a second legal subtext. She's watching her grandson get caught in a system her own family's content has arguably escalated. The lives are evidence. Every viral clip of Jr., the hernia surgery rumors, the physical therapy treadmill footage hot new hip-hop covered, the suspicious not caught on a church recording, every one of those clips is admissible, or at least usable. And a grandmother who has been watching this play out, who has tried publicly to insert herself into Junior's care and been publicly rejected per hot new hip-hop's coverage of her being blocked from seeing Chrisean Jr. That grandmother has a specific kind of rage. It's the rage of having predicted something and being unable to stop it from happening. That hits different than ordinary in-law beef. That's grief in a fitted lace front. Watch how Karlissa names her children in the live. Bodine, the stepmom, the grandfather, hoe number 3. She's reciting a cast list. Yes, we'll get to that in a second. But she's also doing something cognitive psychologists call externalized inventory. When someone under acute stress lists the people in their orbit out loud, they're doing two things simultaneously, reassuring themselves that the support network still exists and preemptively assigning blame across that network so no single person has to carry it. The list isn't bragging. It's bookkeeping. It's a woman doing math on who's left. That's not a defense. That's just a more accurate description than she's crazy. How the outlets are framing this is wild, because they're all looking at the same live and walking away with different stories. Tribune Pakistan, yeah, this is a global story now, frames Karlissa as the aggressor. Headline Energy, mother criticizes. Cold, clinical, implies overreach. Hot 97 takes the opposite spin entirely. Their angle. Chrisean's the one being dishonest. Karlissa's the truth teller about Junior's developmental needs. Sympathetic to mom. WDKX goes a third way. Frames Karlissa as obsessed. Leans into the let it go narrative, even pivoting recent coverage to her new romance as evidence she should be moving on. 3 outlets. 3 different villains. Same live. Add a 4th, TMZ, which has been functionally neutral but devastating in a different way. Their March 7th, 2026 piece on the paternity denial barely editorializes. It just publishes the quote and lets it sit. That's the most damaging coverage of all 4, because neutral framing a man saying, Junior is not my biological son, doesn't need editorial spin. The sentence does its own work. TMZ understood that. The other outlets are still trying to assign a villain. TMZ already assigned the headline. Now here's the loudest counter-narrative I want to address head-on, and y'all already know which one. The take going around the comments. Karlissa just needs to mind her business. That's not her kid. That's Chrisean's baby and Blue's baby. Fall back. Steelman that for a second. Fair. A grandmother doesn't get to dictate co-parenting. There's truth in there. But here's where it falls apart. The same fanbase telling Karlissa to fall back was telling her to speak up when Junior's medical updates went viral, was telling her to speak up when the birthday party drama hit, was telling her to speak up during the pregnancy. You don't get to draft her into the conversation when it suits you and exile her when it doesn't. That's not how this works. That's just selective deputization. And there's a Steelman of the Steelman that almost nobody is doing. So let me do it. There's a version of mind your business that's specifically gendered that gets weaponized against black mothers in ways it doesn't get weaponized against, say, the patriarch of a country music family who comments on his kids' marriages every other week. When Karlissa speaks, the framing is obsessed. When the average sports talk dad does the same exact thing about his grown son's relationship, the framing is involved or protective. The asymmetry isn't subtle. It just gets normalized because we've seen it 1,000 times. That doesn't mean Karlissa's right. It just means the criticism of her isn't evenly applied across demographics, which matters when you're trying to read what's actually going on. So let's actually talk about what's underneath all this. The mainstream read is that Karlissa's a messy mother who can't stay out of grown folks' business. That's the easy lane. Everybody's already in it. Here's where the lane diverges. What we're actually watching is the monetization of estrangement. And Karlissa is just the most visible operator in a system the whole family has now optimized for. Think about the architecture. Blueface has prison time and a comeback narrative that sells streams, interviews, podcast appearances. Chrisean has Jr., has the trauma, has the lives, that sell subscriptions, Cash App tags, and TV deal pitches. Karlissa has Sixit Network, Patreon, hot bundle drops, and a documentary laying on Zeus, per her own Instagram bio. Each person in this triangle has a separate revenue stream, and every single one of those streams requires the other two people to keep performing pain in public. That's not a family. That's a federation. The minute Blue refused to post Chrisean and the baby on his content, the minute he said, per Karlissa's paraphrase, "I ain't got nothing to do with that," he didn't just decline a photo op. He withdrew from the federation. He pulled his content from the shared trust. And the federation can't operate at full revenue without all three members posting. So watch what happens next. Watch how the pressure to do content together intensifies. Watch how every private moment gets weaponized into a public clip within 24 hours. Watch how Junior, a child with reported developmental concerns per the Hot 97 piece, Shade Room coverage, and Hot New Hip Hop's update on his physical therapy footage, keeps getting positioned as a content asset rather than child. Here's the part that should make every viewer uncomfortable. The fan base isn't a witness here. The fan base is the product. Every live impression, every rumturd insult that goes viral, every emotional whiplash from rage to flat iron tutorial. That's the inventory being sold. To Patreon, to Zeus, to Cash App, to the bundle store. Karlissa said it herself, allegedly, in that live. I just clock in and post an episode every week. These hoes out here working every day. She's not hiding it. She's bragging about the efficiency of her funnel. And the cruelest jab? When you scroll back through her live, the part where she lists Bodine, the stepmom, the grandfather, hoe number 3, she's not defending Blue's parenting. She's cast listing. Every family member named is a character on the show. The live wasn't a defense. It was a writer's room session broadcast in real time. That's not crashing out. That's clocking in. The power shift nobody's naming. Here's the leverage map as of right now. June 2026. Blueface gained the most. Why? He has Nevaeh, a confirmed pregnancy, a new baby narrative due in late August, and a publicly disclaimed paternity that lets him exit the Chrisean obligation without an actual court battle. He doesn't even have to win custody. He just has to keep saying R.I.P. to his father Ronnie, loud enough that the public stops expecting him to show up. Every man who's ever wanted out of a co-parenting situation without paying the lawyer fees is studying this playbook, whether they admit it or not. Chrisean lost the most. Why? Her central content asset, the Blueface and Jr dyad, just got publicly defaulted on. The CPS rumor, whether confirmed or not, signals to her audience that the situation has escalated past entertainment into actual welfare territory. And once a parasocial audience starts associating your brand with this might be real harm to a child, the rage-watching crowd peels off into the concerned crowd, and the concerned crowd doesn't tip the same way. Different audience, lower yield. Karlissa, held position. Why? Her revenue streams were never directly dependent on the Blueface Chrisean unit functioning. They were dependent on the Blueface Chrisean unit generating content, functional or not. So as long as something is happening, fight, reconciliation, paternity denial, doesn't matter. Her Patreon eats. The brawl coverage between her and Chrisean and Callie, which Hollywood Unlocked broke down on Facebook, didn't damage her. It gave her a 4-episode arc. That's not a side effect. That's the design. Junior lost everything. He didn't choose any of this. He's 2 going on 3. And every adult in this analysis, including me, is using language about him that number 2-year-old should ever have applied to them. Asset, inventory, centerpiece. We can pretend that framing is just analytical distance, but the truth is the framing exists because the adults in his life let it exist. The vocabulary is downstream of the choices. Pattern recognition, the 6-month loop. If you go back to the original Zeus reality show era and stack the Blueface Chrisean cycles on a timeline, you get something like this. Reconciliation drop / shared content moment. Honeymoon stream. 3 to 5 days of we're back. First public friction, usually alive, usually around night 4. Escalation, second party, Karlissa, Jaden, a sister, a friend, gets pulled in. Apex, the brawl, the post, the screenshot, the cease and desist threat. Cool off, silence for roughly 10 days. Reset, usually preceded by a vague, spiritual post, doing it for God this time, etc. Reconciliation drop. Loop restarts. That's a 6 to 8 week cycle. Run that against any major news outlet's coverage of this family from 2023 forward, and the rhythm is almost mechanical. Which means the current cycle, paternity denial in March, brawl coverage through April, Karlissa's live now, and the inevitable reunion content that's about to drop, is not unprecedented. It's the same cycle, just with a bigger paycheck this round because the Nevaeh pregnancy added a third storyline that wasn't there in 2023. If the algorithm is the conductor, this family is the Philharmonic, and the score is just a 6-month loop in a minor key. The human side, but honestly, I want to do this part carefully because I don't want to be the kind of channel that pretends sympathy is a substitute for analysis. Chrisean is 25. Karlissa was once a 25-year-old single black mother in LA, raising kids without a Patreon, without a Zeus deal, without a fan base to offload the rage onto. Blueface is 29 and just came home from federal time with no clear off-ramp from the public attention that arguably contributed to the probation violation in the first place. None of these people had a normal route into adulthood. None of them had the kind of insulating wealth that lets a family hide its dysfunction in a gated subdivision. That doesn't excuse Junior's situation. Nothing excuses Junior's situation. But pretending the adults around him are villains in a morality play, rather than people whose worst patterns are happening in 4K because the platform pays them to keep doing it. That pretending is its own kind of dishonesty. Most families have this same cycle. Most families don't have a live stream commenting on it in real time. I'm not asking you to be soft. I'm asking you to be accurate. Soft and accurate are not the same. Public image versus private reality. The thing about Karlissa's brand, the black Kris Jenner framing she leans into, the matriarchal empire posture, the sale of six-it bio language, is that it's a brand, not a description. Kris Jenner runs a multi-vertical billion-dollar licensing operation built on managerial control of her daughter's brand assets, with formal contracts, a legal team, and a defined corporate structure. Karlissa runs a Patreon and a YouTube channel built on screaming into a phone for 3 hours at a time about her son's ex. I say this not to mock. I say it because the gap between the self-positioning and the actual operation is itself a data point. Brand inflation is a survival strategy. If you call yourself a network long enough, sometimes you become one. Sometimes you don't. We're going to find out which it is for Six-It in the next 18 months, and the Nevaeh pregnancy is going to be the variable that determines it. If Karlissa successfully pulls Nevaeh into the content ecosystem, and the IG post about Nevaeh inviting Karlissa to the baby shower suggests she's already trying, the network gets a second generation. If Nevaeh holds her ground and refuses to monetize her baby the same way Junior was monetized, the network has a structural problem nobody at Six-It is prepared to solve. Watch the baby shower content closely. Whoever streams, it controls the next chapter. Don't be shocked when, within the next 2 to 3 weeks, Chrisean and Blueface stage a reconciliation content drop, a co-stream visit, a shared TikTok, a podcast sit-down where they laugh about all this. The Federation needs the reset. The lives have peaked, the rage cycle's exhausted, and the algorithm is starting to fatigue. A reconciliation reboots the engagement curve. Karlissa will hate it publicly and benefit from privately, because the next fallout will pop harder for the cool-off. The path that flips the table, and this one's the dark horse. Junior's medical situation forces an actual legal intervention. Not Blueface filing for custody, the way XXL reported he threatened back when. A third party. CPS, family court, a doctor mandated to report. And we are already arguably mid-flight on this scenario as of March 30th, 2026, when the CPS removal rumor began circulating on IG aggregators, including All About the Tea. If those reports get confirmed, and as of this recording, Chrisean herself has only said CPS almost took Junior, the entire content economy around this child collapses overnight. because nobody can monetize a custody seal. Watch how fast the lies go quiet if a confirmation letter ever arrives. 3 scenarios, probability weighted, honestly. Scenario A. The reunion pivot. Highest probability, 55%. Within 30 days, Chrisean and Blueface share a "we worked it out" moment, possibly tied to Junior's 3rd birthday in September 2026 or to the Nevaeh baby shower in late summer. Engagement spikes. Karlissa does a passive-aggressive live about it. Patreon revenue jumps. New season of 6-It content launches by October. We are exactly where we were in 2024 and exactly where we'll be in 2027. Scenario B. The legal wall, moderate, 30%. CPS confirmation lands. Custody proceedings begin in earnest. Court orders restrict what can be posted about Junior. Content vacuum. Karlissa pivots her network entirely to the Nevaeh storyline. Chrisean's brand takes the biggest hit because she loses her central asset. She pivots to music, to a memoir, to a Hulu deal pitch, to whatever can fill the vacuum. Blueface continues as if nothing happened because he already prepositioned the paternity denial to insulate himself. Scenario C. The walkaway, low, 15%. One of the 3 principals actually steps back from the Federation. Most likely candidate, Blueface, because Nevaeh's pregnancy gives him a new center of gravity that doesn't require Chrisean to function. Least likely, Karlissa, because her revenue is hardest wired to the existing storyline. Chrisean is the wild card. If her audience makes the concern pivot I mentioned earlier, she might be forced into the walkaway, whether she wants it or not. I'm watching A and B. C is the long shot, but it's the one that actually changes lives. 5 years out. 5 years out. And this is where the cultural residue settles. Chrisean Jr. is the first generation of child raised entirely inside a live stream economy his parents and grandparents built for him. Not a reality TV kid. Not a Kardashian kid. Those kids had editors, producers, lawyers, and a network filter. Junior has IG Live, no edit, no filter, no time delay. Whatever the long-term psychological cost of that is, we don't know yet because there's no precedent. He's the experiment. And the same fan base yelling "Free Junior" right now is the fan base that clicked play on every single live that put him in this position to begin with. Think about what his teenage years are going to look like. He's going to be able to Google himself and find tens of thousands of strangers debating his developmental milestones from when he was a toddler. He's going to find Reddit threads on r/CPS asking why he wasn't removed sooner. He's going to find clips of his own father saying he isn't biologically his son, pinned and then unpinned, screen capped forever. He's going to find his grandmother's 3-hour live where she lists his mother's alleged drug use, his alleged developmental delays, and a hair bundle promotion in the same breath. What does that do to a kid? We genuinely do not know. There's no longitudinal study because the technology is too new. The closest precedent is the kids of early YouTube family vloggers, and that cohort has only just started speaking publicly about what it did to them, and the early reports are not good. Most of them are estranged from the parents who built the channels. Several have publicly demanded the videos be removed and been refused. Junior is going to grow up into that conversation, and our generation is going to have to answer for it. That's not melodrama. That's a forecast based on the only data we have. The opposition, meaning the corner of the comments that's been cheerleading Chrisean's exposed blue arc. They're about to learn the hard way that the algorithm doesn't reward sustained one-sided rage. It rewards flips, and the flip is coming. When it does, those same accounts will pivot to defending blue inside a week and pretend the last 4 months didn't happen. The comment section memory is 6 days long. The audience that screamed deadbeat at him in March will be tagging him king in July. That's not their fault. That's the platform. The platform is built to forget so it can sell you the same fight again. That's the cycle. That's always been the cycle. One more thing, the sibling variable. I want to flag something nobody's talking about. Callie, Blue's sister. The brawl coverage from Hollywood Unlocked makes it sound like a one-time incident. But if you watch Karlissa's framing of the Callie storyline across the last several months, Callie is being positioned as the next breakout character in the Six-It lineup. The husband leaving subplot, the apology messages, the inclusion in family meeting episodes. That's a slow build. Whoever inherits this content empire when Karlissa decides to phase down isn't going to be Chrisean, and it isn't going to be Nevaeh. It's going to be Callie. Watch. If I'm wrong, roast me in the comments in 18 months. If I'm right, I want my flowers. You saw what I saw. You heard what I heard. You know what this is. Hit that subscribe, ring the bell, and drop your honest read in the comments. I want to fight. Give me the full essay. Part 2's already cooking, and it's about who actually benefits when this family falls apart. Spoiler, it's not who you think. And part 3 after that, we're following the Nevaeh thread because I genuinely believe that's where the next 12 months of this saga live. We out. Celeb Virex.